Hello everybody, and welcome to Whiz, your family-friendly podcast where we discuss D&D Onslaught, Dice Masters, HeroClix, and the other entertaining games made by Whiz Kids. I'm WizDad, your last-minute Halloween costume that you put together. You sorta look like what you were going for, and that's okay. At least you saved that $20, $30. I will be your guide for navigating the competitive and casual scenes of the Whiz Kids Triforce of gaming. It's Dice Masters Monday. Today we are starting a 3-part series that I'm calling The Past, Present, and Future of Dice Masters. It's the off-season, guys, so what else am I going to cover? Today I'll be starting with the present, kind of giving you would think the past, right? But no, starting with the present, so that way I can kind of give a status date on how the game is going, and kind of give you, some information on what you were going to do or what you need to do if you were hoping to get into the game. First, though, like always, let's go over the WizKids Progress Report.
Kowalski, Progress Report.
A fairly quick progress report for you today. Still no response, and still no updates as far as House of X. Now, I can't say I'm too surprised. We had the same issue when Secret Wars came out. It was like a year or two after it was supposed to come out. Something nutty. I'm hoping still that I get some sort of email back. I've emailed some of my contacts at WizKids to at least get some information. Like, if it's not a preview, at least, give me some heads up on, is this happening? Like, is the set even going to happen? Or is it going to be stuck in perpetuity into the kind of the limbo of, Dice Masters? That's my hope, that it doesn't fall that way, but I guess we'll find out. But either way, no updates on House of X yet. We are getting into November now, and it still says November 2023, but there's no date on it yet. That's the key thing. Usually when something is ready to ship, it has a specific date. Right now, there's 3 things listed for November that does not have a specific date, and that is going to be, obviously, the Dice Masters House of X countertop, the DC HeroClix bag of Starfights, and the WizKids Watchtower box set. Those are the 3 things that are scheduled for November, but still nothing. So if it did come out in November, clearly it'd be the end of November. It wouldn't surprise me if they push this till next year, but here's to hoping they don't. If they've already got it out there on the solicits, that means the set is done. They would not... they've already gone through all that planning. It's most likely already been produced. It's just sitting somewhere. Hopefully that's the case. But we'll find out. The other thing to mention is, don't forget, if you're wanting to play Dice Masters, you can join the Discord channel for Dice Masters, Dice Masters Online. There's a lot of people in here. It's a great Discord. People talking all the time. There's probably almost 1,000 people. Close to it. Like 800. 850 on this Discord. There's an events calendar. There's the weekly dice arena that happens. There's a dice fight which happens every so often. Definitely pop in. It is the off season, so once again, the events are kind of hit or miss for everybody at this point, right? Like Onslaught, HeroClix, and Dice Masters, it's the off season, right? It's coming up into holiday season. Halloween usually kicks it off, and usually that's time to just play locally or spend time with family, right? So yeah, that'll probably do it for the progress report. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the present and talk about where Dice Master stands today and what it looks like if you're trying to get into the game today.
Get your gear, little man. We're going fishing. And I mean now.
So before we hop right into talking about the present, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the series and what my thought is with this. With it being the off season, I really was thinking about what, outside of team building, because I once again need to work on team building for Dice Masters, what else is relevant information to talk about? The game is, kind of in limbo, in flux a bit. So I thought it would be great to talk about where it currently stands, where it's been, because if you're new to the podcast, which probably a lot of people are since the podcast is relatively new, but new to Dice Masters, you may not know the long history of Dice Masters. It's not just a new game that's just came out recently. It's a game that's been around for a very long time. I will cover that probably next episode. My thought was we'll start with the present. That'll give me a little bit more time to do more research, to dig up the past and talk about where Dice Masters started, the golden age of Dice Masters, and then how we landed to today. And then after that, we will talk about the future, because the future is cloudy. It's unsure where the future is going to go, but that doesn't mean there's not something the community could do to maybe create their own future. Basically, continue the game maybe without the support, not without the support of WizKids, but basically continue the game while we're in this flux without constant releases. But let's talk about the present. So, as of today, Modern for Dice Masters hasn't changed. We've got 4 sets. That's going to be Infinity Gauntlet, that's Superman, Kryptonite Crisis, we've got Dark Phoenix Saga, and we've got Marvel Secret Wars. Whenever House of X finally releases, that'll be added. But Modern is really only 4 sets, which makes a pretty stale meta in my opinion. Especially when you got powerhouses like Master Mold and stuff like that. It's I shouldn't say stale. I guess I should say meta that does still evolve, mostly because people are kind of tired of playing the same figures over and over, or the same dice. So, if you're to get into Dice Masters now, it's honestly not that difficult. The one fortunate side is almost, I'm pretty sure, looking now, so I'm on the WizKids shop, you can still buy a lot of Dice Masters. And I don't know if this is evidence to show, like, how the game has gone poor. I don't think it is. I think it's just literally WizKids keeps a lot of stuff in their shop. But if you want to just hop into the game, you can get a countertop display of Secret Wars. Kryptonite Crisis is out there as well. I believe all of 4 modern sets are out there. Your store can still order Secret Wars. I just ordered some a month ago, and I think you might even be able to buy some of the other modern sets like Dark Phoenix, maybe even Infinity Gauntlet, through your local, and they could just get it through Alliance or whoever they go through. I think most of those are still available, to be perfectly honest. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, that is Modern, but Modern isn't everything. A lot of tournaments kind of go into more of a golden age and like older pieces. And if you go out right now to the WizKids store, they've got like 41 separate products is what they currently have. Like, they've got the old X-Force team pack, Dark X-Men team pack, they've got Avengers versus Masters of Evil. They've got a bunch of the campaign boxes when they did only campaign boxes, like the Avengers Infinity campaign box, Dice Masters Justice campaign box. They've got a lot of things out here, to be honest. They even got some of the old graph feeds for like Deadpool. Let's see what else. What other goodies are out here? They got a Batman gravity feed. Now the prices on these, there's probably a reason why they're still out here, to be perfectly honest. I don't think anyone is running out to spend $89 on an Age of Ultron gravity feed. But that being said, Dice Masters is readily available. I will say it does look like Infinity Gauntlet countertop display is out. Some of the Dungeons and Dragons sets, like Trouble in Waterdeep, Faerun Under Siege, is sold out. Their playmat is sold out, which is a bummer because I really kind of wanted one of those playmats. But all that being said, the game is still readily available. If you want to dip your toes, try some different things in Dice Masters, you can. It's all out there. You can even go on Amazon. Amazon actually has a lot of product. And funny enough, WizKids actually sells product on Amazon. I know I bought a Dark Phoenix countertop display from WizKids, and it's shipped like it was actually from WizKids, like the WizKids store on Amazon. So like they have their own store, but you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with the shipping there. I want to use my Prime so I get free shipping, because goodness knows what the WizKid store shipping is pretty nutty. You can go out here. I mean, they've got even some of the Warhammer, the Battle for Ultramar campaign box. It's out here for $31 on Amazon. You could go out to get the Kryptonite Crisis, and it's $10 off what is out here. And that's with free shipping. You can get that Age of Ultron Gravity Feed. There's one out here for $35. So like that's more than half off what it cost on their site. Now there's some other ones that are obviously the same price. You've got some WWE, you've got Guardians of the Galaxy Gravity Feed. But all I'm trying to say is, if you want to buy some packs to try some sealed, try some draft, it is out there. Readily available, I should say. The game exists. It's not sold out everywhere. You can find it if you want to find it. And that's good, right? Like, that's good if you want to try to get the game back going at your local. Your local can order countertop displays, which contains all the draft packs. And I'll mention this again, because I'll mention it every episode. The current draft packs, like the Secret Wars one, fantastic. I love them. I know these are the same ones they've been doing for a little while, but I just love the concept of these little draft packs. They just, for their value, you get so much. Not many games give you this much value. Because I know, like, a draft pack is just maybe $1 or $2 over what maybe a new booster of, Magic or Pokemon or whatever. I think those cards cost what, like $6, $5-6 now for a booster if it's like brand new. And that's kind of what it costs for Dice Master. It's like $8, and it comes with all the dice and all the cards. You get so much more in those than you would the other games. So I love draft packs. I love the little, coming from HeroClix where you get a big cumbersome booster and you open it and there's cool minis in it. But at the same time, it's like, well, what do I do with all that? I have to throw away all this trash, and it's hard to pack. And you go to a sealed event and you're walking on with 4 or 5 different boosters. It gets annoying sometimes. So I love that for Dice Masters. I love the draft packs. I'm glad they went back to that from when they did. When they went back from the campaign boxes. When they went campaign boxes, that was kind of nice. But I like it better with the draft packs. So right now, you can go out, you can get most products. If you don't want to buy sealed, I will say, in my honest opinion, that's a little harder to buy singles. There's not really much in the way of stores, like online stores like Troll and Toad or Cool Stuff. None of those really sell Dice Master singles anymore. I don't know if they ever did. Your best bet is to honestly try the Discord or try the Dice Masters Unlimited group that's got about 3,000 members in it. People are in there updating to sell their stuff all the time, or looking to buy stuff. If you have a request, there's certain things you want, you can reach out and do that. Completely honest way, perfect way of getting it. It's not as flexible, like with HeroClix, all of it kind of runs through Facebook. But it's a little better organized because obviously there's a lot more people playing. So it's still primarily, if you want to buy singles, go through Facebook, go through Discord. You could try eBay. eBay might have some singles on there. But it's really up to you. You can find what you need if you really want to look for it. The game itself is still supported rules-wise, I will say. Don't forget that the win is still updated with rulings. Pretty much, I would argue, more updated than HeroClix. The rules questions on here are, like, the last rules questions was October 22nd. Like, that's awesome. Like, you get answers. And so that means the game is supported. It's still getting kind of updates, rules, clarifications, and that's great. The game is really dead when the company just doesn't provide any support. and you're just kind of left up to only the community. So let's see. We've got the dice. We know where to get them. We know where to find them. We know that the game still gets rules updates, rules questions. The question is, okay, what about playing? I got my dice. How am I going to play? That's a little trickier. Currently, most gameplay for Dice Masters is done online. It is a game because you don't interact with your opponent's dice at all. So you don't have to touch. You don't have to have their dice. Like with HeroClix, for example, if I was going to play HeroClix game with you online, and I was going to try to do it with a camera, for example, I would have to have 2 sets of figures. I'd have to have all of your figures and all of mine, because it's really hard to play the game looking at a map and trying to figure out, okay, he has this character here. I have to picture that in my mind since I don't have the figure. Very cumbersome. Dice Masters, because you don't interact that way, 100% super easy to play online. You just have a camera facing your game mat, so your opponent can see the dice and see what you roll, and you just roll on camera. You don't even have to have your face showing, nothing like that. It doesn't have to be an amazing camera either. Most cameras are able to show the mat and show the dice rolls pretty easy. So most of everything's played online. There is still in-person events. A lot of them are happening up in Canada because there's a big Canadian player base up there. But that doesn't mean there isn't any locally. I would probably guess there probably isn't any locally. I would wager probably 90 to 95% of the games of Dice Masters played, at least from a tournament standpoint, are done online. Basically, think of it as a leftover from COVID. When everything kind of closed down with COVID, WKOs and everything went away, the game moved online, which everything did, and it found a home. And online play has continued to grow. We, like I mentioned before, we have the weekly Dice Arena, the Dice Fight, and there's other tournaments that happen quarterly throughout the year, and that's great. And WizKid still does, the Dice Master Worlds was at Nationals. They still do a little bit, not as much as you would like, right? But tournaments are still out there, and maybe you need to just, if you want to play, you can get on the Discord and just go into looking for a game and see if anybody wants to hop on and play a quick game with you. It is a game because you have the draft packs. If you just order one countertop display, because the countertop display has, I believe, how many packs? 10 packs in it. I might be right, might be wrong. But basically they have enough in there where you could just buy one and just have a buddy. Maybe it's 8 packs. It might be 8 packs in the countertop. But if you have a buddy that hey man, do you want to get into this game with me a little bit? We could play. You can easily do that. Buy a countertop display. I want to say gravity feed, but they don't do those anymore. Buy a countertop display and just, each of you pick a pack and sit down and play. I'll repeat it again and I'll say it. The game is a very interesting, interactive, and fun game. It is a game that the mechanics of it are great, easy to travel with because you only have cards and dice, and sure, a bag to put the dice in and a mat. So I guess it's more cumbersome than a trading card game, but definitely less cumbersome than Warhammer, HeroClix, anything like that. But sitting down and playing the game, the many times that I've played it now, it's a lot of fun because there's just something about rolling dice people like to do, and building a game around that is great. It's just genuinely a fun time. And the way that Dice Masters works makes it even better because there's a lot of strategy you can add to it. It isn't just purely a game of chance, which might be what scares some people away. You think of rolling dice, you think, oh, this is just a game of chance, and it isn't for Dice Masters. Dice Masters, sure, you can roll poorly, but you build your team to mitigate that, or you plan ahead, and you always have something to do, right? Very, very rarely do you roll dice and you say, okay, I can't do anything this turn. My dice were so bad, I can't do anything. Most of the time you can roll dice and you could buy something. I'll buy another die. So it's the game is the foundation of the game is by far strong enough to continue. A fun game to be played currently. There's not a lot of games out there like it. Also, there's not a lot of dice-based games. I know the biggest one right now I think is Dice Throne. That's one that's really been growing. But Dice Masters I still think is a unique game that has a lot of team building aspects to it. So buy that countertop display and just you can play with some friends, start building a little local community, just getting your friends together, play at a local store or just play at your home on your countertop too. I know with my kids I play all sorts of games. We haven't gotten into the Dice Masters yet because I just don't own enough of it yet. But we play HeroClix, Lorcana, all sorts of games here. Onslaught, I got my oldest into that. So don't be afraid of just with friends, a friend night, if you're getting together for a board game or if you get together with friends for Dungeons and Dragons, just be like, hey, you guys want to play a quick game of Dice Masters after this or before this? It's definitely and people will have fun starting the game and really just rolling dice and seeing how it goes. So as it currently stands, once again, let's go over how the current present scene looks. Right now, WizKids has come out and said at Gen Con, the VP Jake, I guess, came out and said, the game is in limbo. They aren't dropping it per se, like it's not like they're done with Dice Masters. They've just kind of pulled it back and they're trying to figure out what the future they want to do with it. My assumption is they run the risk of just not doing anything with it. Could lead to some issues with I don't know where it is, like patent, trademark, copyright, all of that stuff with Dice Masters. I don't know how all of that works. But it's one where I feel like with the future, and I'll talk about this more in the future, there's a lot of easy avenues, affordable avenues they could go to keep the game going. And there's certain things I feel like they need to be doing that is cost effective, that could keep the community involved, keep the community going, while they work through this redesign, work through this whole, what are we doing? Well, we don't know how to market this. What's funny is if you go look at Secret Wars, you could see that there was a big redesign. I mean, all the cards look different from the previous cards. It's a great change. I think the cards look fresh, clean, new look to them. And it's just a shame that they're right now kind of like, well, we did all this, but we still don't know what we're going to do with it. So right now it's kind of left up to us to keep the game going, play online, play on the Dice Masters Discord. We did the tournament at Worlds, even though they didn't have Dice Masters at Worlds, just to kind of show our support. Keep playing Dice Masters. Dice Masters doesn't have to be your main game. You could play HeroClix, Onslaught. I mean, I play Onslaught, HeroClix, Dice Masters, Lorcana. I play all sorts of different games because I love gaming. And if it's a game I feel good about, I want to support, I want to build a community around. And that's the whole reason I'm doing this podcast and all this coverage of different games is when I find a game that I enjoy a lot, I want to do whatever I can to keep the game going and to support it. Because I've seen too many games start and fail because the community didn't do enough. And Dice Masters has such longevity, has such a history, that I feel like just letting it die at this point would be silly on WizKid's part. They have a market that is open, though they have a new rival with Dice Throne, but they have a market they can capitalize on. I think now that everyone is, things have recovered mostly from COVID as far as gaming goes, Dice Masters definitely has an opportunity to get back in there. And I think it's just would not take much for them to do it. So yeah, if you're looking into getting into the game again, talk to your local or just buy on Amazon or the WizKid store. Start playing locally. Start playing on Dice Masters Online Discord. Join a weekly Dice Arena. Put in the Looking for Game channel and just say, hey, I'm new to the game. I'd like to try my first game. The community is awesome. Plenty of people out there that are more than willing to sit down and play with you and play a game and introduce you to Dice Masters. And I would emphasize doing so, don't have to show your face. If there's some social anxiety or concerns there, don't worry about it. It's a great community. It's a great community that's kind of anxiously waiting to see where the future holds. So I know this was a relatively short episode. Next episode of Dice Masters will be much longer. Now that we kind of know where the game is with Modern, with being 4 sets, I want to go take a look back and see where we came from. Because it's easy to look at Dice Masters now and say, oh man, it's Modern small, releases are so delayed. Like, has the game always been this bad? Or like this, whatever? And the answer is no, absolutely not. Dice Masters used to be a lot more prevalent, used to have a lot more players. And I want to take a look back because we can't really look at what the future is going to hold if we can't really encapsulate what the present is and then remind ourselves what the past looked like. Because it's a combination of the past and present is what should help shape the future. So join me next week for Dice Master Monday for that. Wednesday will be obviously Onslaught Wednesday. I haven't quite decided. We talked about items last Wednesday, so I'm still debating on what I want to talk about this coming Wednesday. But join me. I'll see you all on Wednesday, and I hope you have a happy Halloween. That's tomorrow, so hope you dress up as your favorite, I don't know, superhero, ghoul, goblin. But I hope everyone has a happy and safe Halloween. For all those dads and moms out there, don't forget dad and mom tax, right? You take them to get some candy. Don't forget, you get a couple pieces of that, right? Or you just buy yourself. That's kind of what I do. Anyway, everyone have a happy Halloween, and I will see you on Wednesday. See ya.